A few years ago, I had the opportunity to revisit the country of Hungary. One day I paid a visit to an ancient abbey from an order I used to belong to many years ago. The place was very familiar to me, but of course all the people I had known back in those days were long dead. A new generation was now there, and I was delighted to get to know them. I asked a young deacon to take me out to the abbey graveyard, as I wanted to visit the graves of those I knew so long ago. Together we walked from grave to grave as I described to him the life of each person buried there. I was able to tell him about each of those old priests, long gone. I was able to tell him about their life, about their strengths, about their ministry. I was able to tell him which ones had been in what parishes and who had been teaching what and in which schools. I was able to tell him of their sufferings during the long years of the Soviet occupation, which ones had been arrested and which prisons they had languished in. I was able to tell of their sufferings, their death, and the fruitfulness of their ministry. I was able to capture for this young man the personality and the life of each of these priests. The young deacon was very moved and very grateful, and at the end of our visit he told me how happy he was to have had this opportunity. "Do you know," he said, "that you are our connection to the past? You are our only connection to these people who built up this place so long ago. You are the only one left who knew all these people, who remembers their lives, and who can share all that with us." Well, that made me feel a bit old, but I too was moved. I had never realized that I was the last link, the last connection that this new generation had with what had gone on before. How important it is to connect. That was brought home to me in a very real way on that day. We live in a world that has to a large extent lost its connection. We are in a disconnected world in many ways. It wasn't so long ago that I would have a half-hour telephone conversation every day with someone who was close to me. Now, because of our modern technology, I'll get a 2 or 3 word text message in unintelligible abbreviations, and I should be happy for that much of a connection. We have lost something. We have lost our connectedness in so many ways. Yet we also live in a world where that very same technology has opened up for us amazing ways of connecting with people we would have had no opportunity to connect with in the old days. Through the magic of the internet, I can instantly connect with people on the other side of the world. And through video conferencing, not only hear their voice, but see their face, whether I want to or not. It is a wonderful thing. We have lost a lot, and we have gained a lot. Everything depends upon how we connect. As I go on some of these things online that I can barely navigate, I see time and time again that magical word appearing on the screen, connecting. And for me, it is so thrilling to see that word. I am connecting with someone. Isn't that what life is all about? Through some of our social networking sites, many people have become almost maniacal in their frantic thirst for connection in a disconnected world. There are people who go on these sites and have to broadcast to the entire planet every step they take in the grocery store, as if that could possibly interest me. We have a deep-rooted thirst to become connected in a disconnected world. It has always been that way. Everyone needs to connect. A century ago, in 1910, the great English novelist E.M. Forster published a new novel called Howard's End, which was later made into a beautiful film. In that novel, E.M. Forster says the words which have become for him almost a motto: only connect, only connect. The heroine of the story, Margaret Schlegel, is talking to her fiancé, Henry Wilcox, and trying to instill in him the value of truly connecting with people. We are told in the novel, only connect. That was the whole of her sermon. Only connect the prose and the passion, and both will be exalted, and human love will be seen at its height. Live in fragments no longer. Only connect. That is precisely what Jesus is telling us. We are all branches on the same vine, and apart from our connectedness to that vine, we are nothing. We have no power. But as branches of that vine, through our connectedness, we have all the life-giving power in the world. Only connect. I am the vine, you are the branches. You share in my life. You share in all my power because you are parts of me. Each of us has a deep-seated thirst to be connected with God, to be connected with something higher than ourselves, with something higher than merely this world in which we live. There are three basic ways of connecting with God. The first is the simplest and most common way, the way that all of us use. I call it sacramentalizing. This is the connection to God through the physical, through the material world, where every human experience can be elevated so that we can touch the divine, where human love is sanctified so that through the material we are in contact with the Spirit. Through everyday things of bread and wine, through a meal, we can reach the heights. Through water, through oil, through all these simple human things, we reach the things of the Spirit. That is why the Christ spoke to the masses in parables, talking about everyday physical realities of their lives, those things which, seen in a new light, raise us up to the level of the spiritual. That is exactly what every preacher worth her salt will do. We take the things we know the best, the things of the material world, and through the physical attain the spiritual. Sacramentalizing. The second way of touching God, of connecting with the Spirit, is through the intellect, where we can go from the intellectual to the spiritual, where we can reach spiritual heights by thinking, reasoning, figuring out. We live, we experience, we read, we discuss, we understand, even if just a bit. That is called philosophy. Some minds are blessed with this gift and can touch something of God in this way. Philosophy. The third way of reaching God, the third way for mortal beings to touch the things of the Spirit, is to go directly spirit to spirit, transcending the physical, transcending the intellectual, and touching God spirit to spirit. That is called the mystical. Certain souls have had that experience too. We can think of the old Carmelite mystics. We can think of the old Eastern mystics in Egypt and elsewhere. We can think of the Sufi mystics of Islam. the Buddhist and Hindu mystics who have indeed transcended the physical, transcended even the mental, and reached God spirit to spirit. Sometimes we can all have this experience, as when an extraordinary piece of music transports our spirit to another level, and instinctively we know we have tasted something of God. Each of us needs to connect. If we are the branches, then we are connected to the vine, and we are connected to every other branch. For the same divine sap of life flows through us all. Only connect. Connect with the created and with the uncreated. Connect with the past and with the present, for in truth there is no time. Connect with the Christ within, to connect with the all which is God. Live in fragments no longer, only connect, and you will transcend time and touch the eternal. Only connect.